My name is Reverend David Kraemer, minister here at the church. Helping with today's service are Patti Kies, our music director, Alex Chilsen, and Aaron Hurwitz. Great to see everybody on this beautiful Palm Sunday. What a nice weather. A couple of things to lift up before we begin. Our board meets this week, Tuesday at 5:30. And as you know, the annual auction is coming up on June 12th, and right now is the time to begin thinking about, well, more than begin, to think about donations for the auction, events, gifts, tickets, outings, all kinds of things. The auction has set our social calendar for years, and it will again this year. Paula Pambianco has a pitch for us.
You think this is a pitch, but it's really more of a plea for help. The auction has always been very dear to my heart for a couple of reasons. One is that I was involved from the very beginning, which was about 16 or 17 years ago. We've been doing this. And the other reason is the sense of community that it brings. The people who are putting it together, people who donate items, parties and events and goods, and of course, the people who bid on things and are so generous with their time and their help. And we just want to remind you that this year we will have, for the first time, an online auction, which will be taking place basically of the silent auction, and that will be a couple of weeks prior to the actual live event, which I'm thrilled to say we're going to be able to do this year outside in the parking lot. And it will be an afternoon auction this time. So we're trying a few things that are different. But I would like to make a plea to get your donated items in, as David mentioned. The deadline is May 1st. If you can go ahead and put whatever it is you're donating into the auction site, that would be great. If you're not comfortable doing that, please just let me know and I can do it for you or help you to do it. The other thing I'm making a plea for is if I could have a few volunteers who would solicit a couple of local businesses. Just one or two, I can give you all the information that you need to do that. It's not that hard, but we really would appreciate some help if anybody is willing to do that. And we're really looking forward to being outside of the auction this year.
So as Paula mentioned, we are using a new system to administer the auction this year. And there is an online form for donating items. And I'm going to take a few minutes right now and show you just how easy it is to use this. This is the hard part. That's right. Yep. Okay, this is our website. And this computer is so old, the pictures are not loading. But you've seen the website, so you know how this goes. And it looks exactly like this. If you scroll down to right here where it says United Annual Auction, to donate, click here. And it goes to the Octria website. Donate items and events, right there, click. Okay, so now you have this screen that says, please provide details. So this is going to be sermon topic. Yes, I'm actually doing this right now. This is for sure. So, choose a topic, and Reverend David will do his best to do it justice. Terms and conditions, I don't have any terms and conditions. Value is priceless. Oh, it only wants to, so it's going to give me dollars. It only wants dollars, so it's worth $100. There's one of them.
Can I just ask, so terms and conditions that might be if I were offering something in my house? I want people to wear masks.
This is true, so thank you. Thank you for that, Ellen. So say you were offering a dinner, you might say you need to be vaccinated in order to attend. In this case, I don't have anything, but, well, here, we'll say this. Please mask and maintain distance. Perfect. Great. And solicitor, provide your name if you are not the donor, but I am the donor, so that I'm fine. Notes, I don't need to do that, so we're going to continue. So if I had a picture, I could upload images right now, but I don't have a picture of me necessarily.
In your gesture outfit.
So that's that. Continue to donor details. It's a skill I've had for a long time. I'm going to skip all this stuff because you know where I am. We're done. So that's it. That's how easy it is. So go to the website and you can make that happen, okay? Now let me get back to my PowerPoint.
Online donation was the end of May, or did I see that wrong?
Starting May 26th. Online, no, the donation deadline is May 1st.
That's what I thought.
Donation deadline May 1st. Yes.
Gotcha, okay.
Come on. Get rid of this. Get my PowerPoint working back again. Hello. All right. While I am playing with that, our theme this month is awakening. And Patty and I have a presentation. She has a call to worship for us from Gretchen Haley.
Open the door of your hesitant heart. Let the light shine on all the sleeping shadows. Awaken to this day that offers itself to you and to all with great extravagance. Awaken to this gift, this beauty, this chance, that we might still begin again and anew, that we might be changed by the in and out of breath, that we might still burst forth like the crocuses, that we might still surprise this earth with a new song, sung together, calling us all in, and then sending us back out, and know it all as a blessing. Come, let us worship together.
Thank you. Let's begin by lighting our chalice with words that we share each week.
May this flame
kindle within us the warmth of compassion, the glow of love, the fire of commitment, and the light of truth. Here together we scatter and nurture seeds of spirit, service, and community. Our first hymn is number 1000 in your teal hymnals. I have the words up here on the wall. Please, if you wish, sing quietly through your masks. Alex will lead us. Morning has
Dance with joy and sing a song of gladness. The light of hope here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. A new day dawns, once more the gift is given. Wonder fills this moment shared together. The light of peace here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. Open our eyes to see that life abounds. Open hearts to welcome it together. The light of love here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home.
Our story for all ages today is called Penguin Problems. It's by Jory John. It's illustrated by Lane Smith. It's way too early. My beak is cold. What's with all the squawking, you guys? It snowed some more last night, and I don't even like snow. It's too bright out here. I'm hungry. I'd like a fish. Where are all the fish? Hey, fish, get out here. The ocean smells too salty today. I'm not buoyant enough. I sink like a dumb rock. It's way too dark down here. Brr. I said, brr. Oh, great, a leopard seal. Oh, great, a shark. Oh, great, an orca. What is it with this place? I don't like being hunted. I'm still hungry, but my flippers ache. I waddle too much. I look silly when I waddle. See? I wish I could fly, but I can't. See? Everybody looks the same as me. I look the same as everybody else. Mom? I have no idea who you are. Dad? I literally have no idea what you're talking about. My name is Mortimer. I have so many problems, and nobody even cares. I want a sound effect. It goes twink, 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 twink. Excuse me, sir? What? Good afternoon. I sense that today has been difficult, but lo, look around you, penguin. Have you noticed the way the mountains are reflected in the ocean like a painting? Have you gazed upon the blue of that cloudless winter sky, my friend? Have you felt the sun as it gently warms? Have you simply stood with your penguin brothers and sisters and elders who adore you? Yes, some things are challenging out here. Yes, we all have difficult moments, from the walruses to the polar bears, from the whales to the penguins. But hear me now, my new friend. I wouldn't trade my life for any. Quite sure you wouldn't either. I am certain that when you think about it, you'll realize that you are exactly where you need to be. Please think about what I've said, penguin. Goodbye for now. Who the heck was that guy? Why do strangers always talk to me? Walruses don't understand penguin problems. Sigh. Okay. Maybe that walrus has a point. After all, I do love the mountains and the ocean and the sky, and I have friends and family. This is my only home, and this is my only life. Maybe things will work out after all. My beak is cold. It gets dark way too early.
Please join me in a few moments of quiet reflection, meditation, prayer. It is hard sometimes to notice the beauty all around, especially in times when we're stressed, times of strife, times of local, state, regional, national, global conflict. We're praying for all of those who are in recovery, all of those even here who have been struggling with health and their own healing. Thinking of our community and the aftermath of the election this last week, thinking of the future. Words from Maureen Killeran. I pray this day for the courage to be humble in the face of inequity and pain, to know that the power has been given me to make a difference, although not to end all suffering or to save all the whales that populate our days. I pray for the courage of endurance, to keep acting in the midst of despair, to keep trying in the aftermath of failure, to keep hoping in the emptiness that follows loss or change. May courage give me patience, and may I ever know love's healing presence at the heart and center of my days. As an introduction to our next hymn, Patti has a few words to share.
The words to our hymnal number 184, Be Ye Lamps Unto Yourselves, are drawn from a historic story, could be true, regarding the dying words of the Buddha to his followers who were stressed past the point of that penguin, and fearful because without him, they were unsure how they would carry forward what he had taught. So his words were, Be ye lamps unto yourselves. And Alex will give you the rest.
Be lamps unto yourselves, be your own confidence. Hold to the truth within yourselves as to the only lamp.
We practice our own generosity in this congregation by sharing our gifts through our offering. Paula and Stuart will now pass the plates as Alex offers some music. Please give generously. Of course, we share more than just our gifts. We share our lives in this congregation by sharing joys and sorrows, milestones in our individual lives. If you have something to share now, I would invite you to come forward, speak into the microphone, tell us your name, what's on your mind. Take a stone from the bowl with the stones, and when you are finished, place it in the bowl with the water, and let the ripples carry your concern out to the wider community.
Sally Salenza. Update on my mother. She had her heart valve replacement this week. Doing well. She's in the ICU. Hopefully she'll transfer to a normal floor Tuesday. And another really exciting piece of news is I submitted for my retirement after 23 years of working at Zero Zone. No more HR. Yay.
HR might stand for hello reality.
I'm Paula Pambianco, and our joy is that our daughter Liz and her boyfriend Nate got engaged yesterday. We're very happy about it.
Congratulations.
So I'm Ellen Pawlowski, and this will be kind of a mixture, joy, sorrow, etc. I had offered as an auction item with Sophia, and our church is a member of Sophia, it's a social justice agency, to take a couple people to Sherman Phoenix to shop. And if you're not familiar, Sherman Phoenix is a small shopping mall. It used to be a bank on 34th and Fond du Lac, I believe. That developed, 5, 6 or so years ago after a young black man, Civil Smith, had been killed by police. There were riots and fires and a lot of unrest in that community. But then from that, the Phoenix rose and Sherman Phoenix again was developed. So Marcia Romashko and Betty Gronwald from Sophia and I went shopping on Friday, and I think it was very enjoyable. So the joy was that it finally happened because we had to delay it a few times, et cetera. Had some good food and et cetera. Then we also went to Bronzeville Collective, which it's one store on like 3rd and North, just a block away from the new Black Holocaust Museum. And that, again, that's one store that features various artisans that are kind of from marginalized communities, either the LGBT community, African Americans, et cetera. So one of the purchases that I made there, and I'm not ready to do it yet, but I will probably donate it to our library, is a Negro business directory. It's essentially a green book that for the state of Wisconsin from 1950 and 51. So it essentially lists either black-owned businesses from that era and or places that were safe, such as hotels actually throughout several states where African Americans were safe to stay. Enjoy your vacation without humiliation is what they say in here. So again, I'm not sure if this is a joy, a sorrow. It's a piece of history that is obviously so really very troubling. I'm also going to offer to take a couple people to Sherman Phoenix and or Bronzeville Collective to the auction. So that's a little plug again for the auction. So, okay, I'll get off the stage. Thank you.
I'm Patti Kies. I was in Madison yesterday for several purposes. One of them was to visit a friend who is in the hospital who has pneumonia, who also is muscularly compromised, one of the people from the camp that I spent time helping. I spent some time helping her, but before I could do that, I drove into the parking lot of the UU church that is right by University Hospital, where I found them having an art fair in their building. Just unexpectedly. I went there because it was like extended safe place, like going to grandmother's yard. Take yourself to the UU church, you can go sit on a picnic bench there and have the lunch you bought. But their art fair was lovely. Their building is, of course, configured differently than ours, so nothing was in their sanctuary, and all of their hallways are big enough to set up. But seeing them be able to reopen their building for a community purpose really brought a sense of joy in their having that joy, which actually is a Buddhist concept to feel their joy instead of jealousy. I also definitely feel my friend's pain in her trying to recover from pneumonia in a healthcare system that does not understand that people with neuromuscular disabilities still want a quality of life because they want her to choose whether she's ready to die.
Hi, I'm Donna Lundeen. I'd like to wish Nathan Byrigger a happy birthday. Yesterday he turned 19. He goes to school where Monty teaches. He has a job at Mod Pizza. He was excited about his birthday. He had a friend over all afternoon. They always go to Red Robin for dinner. So it was a very exciting day for Nathan. And I just thought kind of keep up to date with what's going on with our young people. Thank you.
Others? So I have a stone for Tyrone Smith, the man who was shot at South High School a couple of years ago. You know that he has been convicted and he was out on probation. His probation has been revoked, and this week he was moved to Dodge Correctional Facility, so he's entering the state prison system. I've not talked to him since Thursday. I still have to figure out how to do the connection, but he will be at Dodge for some time. Dodge is kind of a clearing facility for the state prison system, and then he will be assigned out to someplace where he will spend likely the next 3 years. So please keep Tyrone in your hearts and minds. And I will place one last stone for all those joys and sorrows that remain unspoken. Please sing together, Walking with You. Walking with you, walking with you is our prayer. Words from Mary Oliver, which you may know. Hello, sun in my face. Hello, you who make the morning and spread it over the fields and into the faces of the tulips and the nodding morning glories and into the windows of even the miserable and the crotchety. Best preacher that ever was, dear star that just happens to be where you are in the universe to keep us from ever darkness, to ease us with warm touching, to hold us in the great hands of light. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Watch now how I start the day in happiness, in kindness.
I see no earthly reason to start a day earlier than absolutely necessary. A nest in a cozy bed is often just too nice to waste. The crack of dawn is not beckoning with anything all that poetic, and even if it is, the shades can be pulled down a bit lower. An alarm clock has components made for snoozing, and one lacking that feature is begging to be donated off to someone unaccustomed to the luxury of falling back into dreamland.
Early to bed, early to rise makes a person healthy, wealthy, and wise.
Yes, the farmer's market may be opening just as the dew or mist is beginning to burn away. But no, I don't need to have my pick of multiple bunches of radishes for sale right then, as long as I can make it out before the last gets scooped off the table. Yes, it's nice to move gently through a quiet house in my slippers and sit with a cup of tea in contemplation. However, I know how to make tea that is just as warming and wonderful when it's a few minutes to noon. Point being, the mindful experience of the time savoring the tea, after all, not what time of day I sit with it.
The early bird gets the worm.
In my midsummer garden, there are a few jobs that I really want to do as early as possible before the heat intensifies. Yet, my favorite time to be connecting with the earth and to harvest is after the shade begins to come. I again find that I'm in that meditative zone, hushed and calm, when the sundial says siesta time. And as a bonus, the fresh things I bring inside get to go straight to becoming dinner instead of waiting and wilting for the next 10 hours. I know I'm set up molecularly like seedlings that appreciate being transplanted in the evening, not put in to bake and shrivel in the heat of the day.
From Henry David Thoreau. All memorable events, I should say, transpire in the morning time and in a morning atmosphere. The Vedas say all intelligence is awake with the morning. All poets and heroes are the children of aurora and emit their music at sunrise. To those whose elastic and vigorous thoughts keep pace with the sun, the day is a perpetual morning. It matters not what the clocks say. Morning is when I am awake and there is a dawn in me.
I am aware that many teachers are of the opinion that meditation time ought to be a period reserved in one's day, and that often they say that ideally before anything else can get the mind caught up. It is probably so for many practitioners. I believe, though, that it will fall in place best in its right time. Early morning is mismatched with my internal rhythm. Further, finding the possibility of making any part of one's day into an opportunity to engage in a brief meditation is the actual ideal. It's about regaining that sense of awareness and the sense of waking to the truth that is ready, ripe to be noticed. That could happen long after I've chosen what's for breakfast, and it generally does happen for me several times a day. The dawn in me rises in its own moments.
Our theme this month is awakening. As I said at the beginning, and it seemed obvious to me to use that poem from Mary Oliver, Why I Wake Early, as a starting point. Oliver is much a part of our canon as anything, and I thought early on that I could easily work in my own experience. I am a morning person. I always have been. And from the platitudes I just shared and the quote from Thoreau, I secretly, or perhaps not so secretly, have felt a certain sense of moral superiority about this. But as we talked about this in the worship team last month, I quickly was made aware that not everyone is a morning person. And that does not make them bad people, or so they say. You might be among them. So as this developed, Patti and I began a dialogue. She started first writing out much of what she is sharing today and sending it to me in a Google Doc. That gave me something to work from, which I really appreciated. It is often easier to react than to act.
The energy around noticing a moment's qualities is the thing that is leading me to the deeper experience, not the time of day that I set aside. The definition I know of mindfulness is paying attention on purpose to this moment happening now, with kindness and without judgment. There's nothing included about a cutoff time or an angle of the sun, while it is definitely implied that things that distract and interfere will render it less effective. A body system not quite awake limits benefits from my meditation. Reacting then swiftly gets in the way.
So as Patti took the lead, she gets the middle pulpit, and I'm here off to the side, which is something we have been talking about in the worship team as well, about decentering a certain white patriarchal cultural form that permeates our worship. One way to do this is by pulling in more voices, whatever voices we have, perhaps moving the white patriarchal form off to the side. We may not be as diverse as we might like to be, but we can acknowledge and center the diversity that we do have, that is here. And so just in this last month, we've had an ensemble of Rick Blahn, Emma Keppel, Meg Whaley, and me up front. And then we've had a truly diverse and global message from the UUSC. Last week, Alex Chilsen and I played off each other, albeit as white cisgender males. And today, it's Patti and me. What I hope for is that we are moving toward more of a collaboration, a co-creation, which picks up on something that we talked about even just last week. Creation, as a thing that might imply a creator, is not static. It continues to be created. What's more, as a part of creation ourselves, the creative spark, God, if you will, lives in each of us, grows in each of us, compels us, I would say, to participate in creation. We're sort of a creature feature, you could say. Patti and I came to see this as a dialogue, point, counterpoint maybe, but as you will come to see, both aimed at the same thing, which also is the thing that Mary Oliver and Thoreau and perhaps the Buddha all point to.
During a part of my working life, when the winter nights were dark and crisp, I would set 2 alarm clocks, plus a timer that turned on a light between the 2 ringing. And often, I still wouldn't put my feet on the floor no matter how much the world outside the covers insisted. The group of daily joys awaiting my being upright included getting wet, hunting up food, heating a drink, clearing snow, commuting, to generally arrive not fully awake. Once there, pushing myself to get into gear among people who seemed to delight in being as noisy and active as squirrels. Boo, hiss, shut the door and keep the lights low a while longer. Knowing my own way of gradually coming awake, I would consciously try not to make it anyone else's problem that I wasn't yet at full speed. A few specific perky coworkers I would mindfully avoid for at least an hour, so that I would not be tempted to put their lights out.
When I was a young adult and we lived along the Mississippi River, I hunted ducks every autumn. I said at the time that I did this religiously, as people sometimes use that word to mean habitually or regularly. But there was more than that. The experience of sunrise in a marsh was for me one of those revelatory experiences that humbles you. amazes you, causes you to rethink everything, at least for a moment, like staring up at the stars or standing on a mountain. It was a religious experience for me, one that I had a hard time letting go of as my life continued to change in ways that took me away from the river.
Daytime is good. I'll agree. That doesn't mean more daytime is any more good. I tended to find that the time I was at my best at work would be somewhere in the middle of the afternoon. On a great many occasions, I was most in the zone and my best creative moments came at the point when all of the chipmunks checked themselves out for the day, and a sense of rest surrounded me. I would lose myself in accomplishing what I had not been able to do while others were all abuzz. And it turned out, I found, I wasn't entirely alone. Other people didn't head out the doors because this was also their productive time. The quiet moment when the bells had stopped ringing, even now without that routine sound, has the most beneficial potential now as my target meditation time.
The Ames Tribune, where I served as editor from 2000 to 2008, was an afternoon newspaper, which meant the deadline was 11:30 a.m., which in turn meant that the newsroom had to essentially do a full day's work every day before noon. There were parts, of course, that could be put together, assembled the day before in the afternoon off of deadline, but the urgency of the news translated into a production cycle, a really busy production cycle every morning. As the boss, I made a point of being the first one in the door. Some staffers might have found this irritating, I realize, but the alternative would have been to foster some grumbling about that lazy so-and-so sleeping in. And I enjoyed it. I biked to work in those days, a bracing way to awaken, especially in the fall and spring and even winter. The quiet of the office in the moments before others arrived provided me an opportunity to collect my thoughts, prepare for the day, greet the news. Turning the key in the lock each day opened me. There's a reverence in a newspaper office that is not unlike that in a church. The huge rolls of newsprint loom in the dark. The press stands quiet for a while before its ferocious roar. There's a quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson I like that goes, "I like the silent church before the service begins, better than any preaching." I think of that often. Maybe you feel the same.
My body waking naturally after the full refreshment of sleep rises more willingly than it ever had on waking to immediate demands before the rest of the world. The alarm clock rests inside the dresser drawer now. I delight in the days that begin when the birds are active and vocal, but I don't have a burning need to experience that every single day, any more than I long to see every sunrise creep across the horizon. I want the other picture, the one where it's night and he's meditating on the mountain. As a daily practice, it would just lose the effect of being special. There's nothing I want to grasp for outside of my snug nest. But I also work against starting days feeling aversion to so-called intrusions. Truck moaning out in the darkness at 5:15 isn't as charming somehow as birdsong. The mindful response on hearing it still can be appreciation. That's what the walrus was hoping that our penguin would stop his complaining and possibly wake up to, even for a brief moment.
So I get about 7 hours of restful sleep a night. I know this because the gadgets that are with us these days are good at measuring all kinds of thumps and gurgles inside of us and then telling us about them so that we can compare ourselves in myriad new ways to whatever is considered normal, or at least to the thumps and gurglings of other people. I tell myself this feedback is good. It tells me each morning whether my heart was racing or at rest. But in fact, I know this more or less already, even before checking my gadgets. I know how well rested I feel. Honestly, more often than not, I do not feel as rested as I would like. Even when I do get my 7 hours, which is more than most, more than Uber drivers, more than third shift workers, more than all kinds of people struggling. I still often wake at 3 or 4 in the morning, roll around for a little while. All of those things they tell you to get better sleep, like turn off your phone, read for a while, don't eat or drink anything too soon or just right before bed. All of these things do make a difference, but none of them shut down my restlessness completely. Often I will get up for a few minutes, look out the window at the night, get a drink of water, clear my thoughts enough to go back to sleep. But then by 5:30 or 6, I'm half in, half out again. And if I stay there long enough for the light to come up, I'm really done. Can't stay there any longer. No alarm clock necessary. There is a dawn in me, and I get up.
Many days, I get a second wind of fresh energy, often coming late, when most are winding down and feeling enticed by the couch. It isn't caffeine that runs me by that time. It's my natural inner fires. That tends to mean I stay awake well after dark, enjoying a fullness in those hours that I seldom sense right away in the morning. I literally am just far more together and myself in the last hours I am up. I review what I've been able to get done, and by lamplight, I plan so that tasks that won't be quite as evident to me in my morning fogs aren't likely to get missed come the sunrise. Frequently, the quiet in the house and out in the streets as it gets late is again really conducive to finding and settling into a clear space in my mind. A footnote here, planning is an activity of the mind, and while it's not a bad one, it is also not a meditation.
Patti is right. Planning is not meditation. While I am given to planning and I enjoy it, I recognize that mindfulness meditation, a practice of stopping, or maybe better, pausing, to let go of the future tense, that's another thing altogether. Recent studies have indicated that meditation actually shrinks your amygdala. It physically changes it. That tiny muscle at the base of your brain, which controls your fight or flight response, your reptilian brain, is also linked to memory and perhaps to smell. This can be relaxed and smoothed so that when anxiety peaks in the world around, those who meditate may have a better chance of maintaining some calm. And in truth, Patti and I are not that far apart. If she says she likes to nest in a cozy bed, I am just out on the couch. My routine for the past few years now has been to settle in with my coffee and my thoughts for a good hour, sometimes more, with much the same goal in mind, a way of coming gradually awake. I no longer hunt ducks or deliver the news. My pre-dawn industry has devolved over the years into a time for yoga, meditation, or simple quiet reflection on the day. Most recently, I've cranked up the activity again a bit. I have begun a habit of walking, usually up and down the river downtown, which amounts to about 2.5 miles, or if I'm at the cabin, out to the bridge and back, which is about the same. These days, instead of settling into the sofa, I finish the first cup of coffee and then step out for a walk. Walking can be a meditation too. The regularity of the route, the small community of people I see every day, these make this a religious experience not unlike daylight in the swamp. I have come to know myself well enough to know that discipline matters. If I simply go about my life waiting to be awakened, it's not going to happen. So I make a practice out of something to wrench me from my slumbers. I try to make it a time of being fully present, not just to the sunshine and the river, but to the whole package. My friends and my family, my job, my to-do list, and the events of the world, those that I am aware of at least, and maybe even some that I am not aware of, and yet which still affect me, events that I am still learning of. All of this is present in that time.
According to legend, Buddha himself practiced walking meditation, done slowly in the forest once he'd gotten up from time seated under a tree or inside a hut. He wasn't doing anything fancy, but he was certainly living an example of self-discipline. Once, the Buddha was asked the question, "What are you?" with the interviewer trying to figure out whether to consider him a man, a god, or something else. And his response was, "I am awake." This is the aim, wakeful awareness. It may come readily to some when they first wake up from their sleep. That's not typically what happens for me. Thankfully, I don't need to try to force myself awake. Instead, I bring the focus to moments within my day that would be improved by being still.
Mary Oliver is a constant reminder of the same thing, of the importance of paying attention, of awakening, of being present in the world. It is a practice of mindfulness, as with the Buddha. It does not matter whether you are up at the crack of dawn. Morning is whenever you awake and there is a dawn in you. That's what our theme for the month is inviting us to do, to awaken to the world, to the other, to new ideas, to new ways of understanding, and to ourselves. Blessed be. Let's sing together again, Alex.
So I still want the picture up there of the penguin in the evening.
Here we go.
Go back one more. Yeah. Okay. That's not morning, but it's working. The point is that it's working. I have two different pieces for our closing words. One is from a UU minister, James Ishmael Ford, and the other is from a Doctor of Divinity, not a UU, David Kuntz. From Ford. Awakening happens. You don't earn it. You don't have to be good. You don't have to be smart. Awakening just happens. And it comes to us in surprising places and times, sometimes while meditating or on retreat, or slurping down a cabbage leaf, but actually a bit more likely when washing dishes, or chasing an errant 3-year-old, or sitting on a bench facing the river below the clouds. Awakening comes to us in the most unexpected ways, in the most unexpected times. It is a gift. It is always a gift. From Kuntz, when time stands still, you can be sure that something very important is leaping in. To allow this pregnant calm, we must be still, like a leaf turning and turning on a stream, caught in an eddy, while the stream continues to fall to the sea. Watch for your time standing still moments as you go about your busy days. What are they like for you? Can you recall some from your past? And especially, watch for the truth. Pay a lot of attention to the truth that leaps in at those moments, for it will surely enrich your life.
Thank you, Patti, for this dialogue. We've kept you a little while today. I hope you found it worthwhile. Alex, of course, has a postlude for us, but before we all go, and whether you are a morning person or not, know that you are loved. Seek justice, find peace.
Broken windows and empty days, a pale dead moon in a sky streaked with gray. Human kindness is overflowing, and I think it's going to rain today. Scarecrows dressed in the latest styles, with frozen smiles to chase love away. Human kindness is overflowing, and I think it's going to rain today. right before me, the signs implore me to help the needy and to show them the way. Human kindness is overflowing, and I think it's going to rain today. Human kindness is overflowing, and I think it's going to rain today.